of a story. Absolutely happened. This was sometime back, early 1900s, back in Australia. Aborigines were obviously very plentiful in the areas of Australia at that time. And they had certain beliefs. They were superstitions. They weren't necessarily true, but that's what these guys believed, right? So one of the beliefs in this little village was that a young man, before he was 20 years old, should never, ever eat pheasants, because a pheasant would poison him. And so he should never eat pheasants. He could eat chicken, he could eat other fowl, but he should just not eat pheasants, right? And there was a particularly smart, industrious young man. He was going to go out on his own. He was leaving his little village, and he decided to go see one of the local elders. And so he goes and he's going to have a final dinner with the local elder, and the local elder prepares all the foods and the fixings and everything. And the young man walks in and he's like, "Hello, sir, I'm here to see you for your parting words of wisdom." And he says, "Okay." So he sees this what looks like, chicken. He says, "Is this pheasant?" He goes, "No, why would I do that? We know that if you eat pheasant, you're only 18 years old. If you ate pheasant, you would die. We don't want you to die. So this is chicken. I made the chicken specially for you." And he said, "Okay, thank you." So he eats and he has a great conversation with him, and he leaves and goes off to find his fortune. 2 years go by. The young man comes back. He's 21 now, and he comes back to the village. And he sees the elder. He's so proud to tell him of his progress. And the elder says, "I knew you could do it. All of these beliefs that people have was holding you back. And I knew that you would be successful. And I'm very proud of you." And then he says, "I have something to share with you. Remember that dinner we had almost 3 years ago? That was a pheasant that you ate that night. And you didn't die. Nothing happened. It was all foolish superstition, and you're fine." And the young man was mortified. He was like, "Oh my God, how could you do this to me? Why would you do that? You know that I would die." And he so believed it that night, that young man became ill, and the next morning he dropped dead, thinking that he was poisoned because he ate that pheasant. And this absolutely happened. So what it shows you is the effect that beliefs can have. Not
Hey everybody, welcome to The Cutting Edge right here on Edge Radio. That's 1540 AM and 101.7 on your FM dial. I'm your host, Mr. Al Roundtree, aka Tree, aka Mr. Social Baby. I don't care what you call me, just call me. I'm joined today on this lovely Wednesday on our famed or new theming Women Crushing Wednesday with the infamous, I would tell you the famous, and I can't wait because this is going to be a lot of fun. Joining me, I'm so happy and elated that you are here, Miss Kyra Hardwick, the business strategist and best-selling author. Welcome.
Hello, Al.
Yes. This is going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be my pleasure to put her on the spot right now.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's well overdue, because Kyra had me in her office and put me on live on her little podcast on the spot without warning or anything. It was like, "Hey, let's go on. I want to do an interview with you right now. Let's do it."
A gentleman that I've come to know and really appreciate.
Absolutely.
Raul Rodriguez
from Rodriguez
Rejuvenation.
Absolutely.
I'm ready for you.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I'm so glad that you're here, Kyra, because I want to share your story and, the success that you have. You've been such a vital success to a lot of businesses here in the city of Houston and around the country as well, working with different companies, organizations, and things like that. I know you've also been vital in the success that I've had with Social Baby as well. And, I want you to talk a little bit about that, about, what you do, what makes you so fabulous, because you are fabulous.
Thanks.
I would love to learn, for the people to learn, why you are Miss Kyra Hart Whitney.
Wow. So it was a slow, snowy, long day
Really?
back in 1976, and my mom first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to
Thank
be
you.
sitting mic to mic with my homeboy, Al Roundtree. I'm overly proud. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. I love to see the realization of brands coming to life. I love to watch the vision come to life. And I'm going to start with how we connected. And I was a coach, and I was a trainer in a liftoff competition here in Houston. And one of the things that happened was I was training. So I was doing a marketing training, and I've done it for a couple of years. And I had the opportunity to engage. And I talked to you about this, and I told you how you kind of just blew me off in the first class. I'm a very interactive trainer, and so I expect my students to be very interactive with me. And I was telling jokes, and I was walking the room, and I was asking questions, tapping shoulders. And
Really?
Al Roundtree provided me with a little bit of insight on who I was in that moment.
You really gonna
And
take
it wasn't that, payback, it's on. Like, you called me completely out.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
when was the last time a lioness stepped down from an opportunity?
Okay, all right.
So what happened was, it's been coffee has been amazing.
Yeah, I see.
So what happened was, I was tossing an idea or a concept or something in your direction, and he played me so nonchalantly. And so I was like, oh, okay, so I got a tough cookie in the class, and it was cool. And so I actually got to see him pitch. And when I was watching him pitch, I really forgot that we had that nonverbal exchange in the classroom. And I was watching him pitch. And while he was pitching, I started Googling and searching and getting on his Instagram. And I just became such a believer and such a fan of what you were bringing to the world. And in that moment, I knew that you had created an opportunity for us to connect to something that had conversion value. Like, you converted me. I forgot who you were from a classroom perspective and understood who you were as an innovator. And that was what sparked for me. And I came to you like a fan. And I was like, first of all, I don't know what, but I can support you. I want to help. What do you need? How can we support your vision? And it was really a very genuine approach to how can we make this go? That was my hope. And I don't know how long it took for us to finally connect, but it was an opportunity for me to see such vision and want to get behind it. So you asked the question, what is it that makes me me? Why am I who I am? I think the greatest thing is that I've been given a gift to really understand and hear and see passion in people and vision in people and gather their purpose and want to help them see it to the finish line. That's really who I am. The benefits are we get to live in the world of my crazy strategic brain and creative space, right? And
Those Kyra moments. Okay. All right.
and stretch past the average and not play small and drive for I'm going to use a football analogy, drive it into the end zone. Was that good?
You were struggling.
I was
but
trying.
it was good, though.
It was good. That was perfect.
I like it. Go ahead.
Okay, so I tried. So, like, really drive it home. And I want people to understand that that's at the essence of who I am. Like, my goal, I don't care if we're working with a large business, a small corporation, a startup, an innovator, a hungry, thirsty creative. If I hear and understand your vision, my absolute intention is to get behind it and drive it. And for you, your job is to invest and co-create. We co-create together. And that is where the magic happens. And so, that's who I am. And that's what makes me me. The Kyra Company has been the gift that I think that has spawned from that. Just really understanding that we can bring the Kyra Company to life, bring the smart CEO world to life, and then get behind brands, get behind visionaries, get behind CEOs that have been running their businesses for a long time, but raise their hand for support, right? So I'm going to just can I define a smart CEO? Because
Absolutely.
I know that's a part of my brand as well.
Absolutely.
So the Kyra Company is our firm, our agency, our full service business consulting firm. The Smart CEO brand is our brand that we've put forward to help engage other CEOs. So a smart CEO, Al, is someone that is smart enough to get in the room. That doesn't mean they don't have a skill set. It doesn't mean they are ill-equipped. It means they're smart enough to know that in order to make it happen, they need to raise their hand and garner support that can help drive it. right? We all know how to do a thing, but even I go back and find resources. I have a power packed team of people that I reach back to say, show me how, can you help me? Can you enlighten me? Can you think big with me? And I think when we humble ourselves to understand that we are brilliant in our own mind. I told you this, you're a creator, you're an innovator, you're a tech innovator. You've thought of something that to bring to the world, and that is creators think of things that don't exist,
right, or
think of things that do exist and make them better. That is raw talent. I can't do that part for you with you. Like, I have to come along to what your vision is already. But what I get to do then is see all the opportunities within it. And that's where we typically miss it as a visionary, because we're in it. We're close. So long and short.
Well, you know what that the long and short of it. But you know what, Kyra, that's one thing that I think is so amazing about you is, the things that you spoke about is exactly who you are. And so, subtract the classroom encounter that we had and your version of it. We're gonna say your version of it, right? That what you said is so true, and how you engage with me. I know the way that you have supported me and just poured into me, and bringing more out of me in terms of those things, like that is such a unique skill set that you have. And the thing that I love about you is that you are definitely passionate about it. Like, you are passionate about supporting and helping people grow and maybe see different lanes or what have you. Like, that is your passion. Like, you love to see the fruit come from that work that you poured into people. And so I think it's such a great trait to have. And I know that as entrepreneurs and people who are starting businesses, and not just small businesses, because you have clients who are, larger and things like that. But to be able to have that kind of support, be able to have that behind you is a true driving force, I think, for you in terms of growth or expansion or whatever it might be that the company's goals or objectives are at that time. And so I think it's such a unique skill, and I'm so glad that I have had the opportunity to meet you and plus work with you as well. And again, I'm glad that you're here on the show. This is Women Crushing Wednesday. So, Women Crushing Wednesday is really about, really highlighting women in business and other industry that are crushing it. That's basically what it is. Yes. So it's not about a crush, it's about you crushing it, right? Yes. And you've been crushing it for a long time. You've been working on a lot of different projects, so much unity with people from different races, different walks of life, coming out and in support of this one particular message that I don't think you saw a lot of that previously. And it may have been, again, I think there's definitely seems like, like you said, there needs to be some action behind what we're doing now. I think we've made enough noise to get their attention. Obviously, we got to continue to walk in that. Definitely, I'm not going to say that the destruction of businesses and things like that, but I do think that we are definitely taking some huge strides to do that. I don't know how much of a sports fan you are. But I wonder, huh?
Let's see what we got.
Well, it's a subject that you know about, the situation with Colin Kaepernick and just in the NFL as well. Like, I wonder how they actually issued a response. And I know that a lot of people didn't, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I know a lot of people, kind of take that response as, whatever, like,
say it,
a grain of salt. Yes. So what do you think that how these corporations that have prior to now have really kind of, their response hasn't been too much. I would love to get into that. We're going to talk about what your response is after we come back from our break. We're going to jump into the break real quick. You can give us a call, guys. We love to get your feedback on this. 281-587-1540, 281-587-1540. You're listening to The Cutting Edge right here on Edge Radio.
I want to introduce to you a gentleman that I've come to know and really appreciate, Dr. Raul Rodriguez from Rodriguez Rejuvenation. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Well, I started my career as in cosmetic surgery and aesthetic medicine over 20 years ago. And I've always been an innovator in everything that I've done. And I was fortunate enough to be featured on ABC News 2020 back in 2003 with Barbara Walters doing the introduction. Could this be the answer to your
Barbara
dreams?
Walters and Hugh Downs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Back then, he
That's
wanted
great.
up on the "Give Me a Break" segment with
Yes.
John Salza, but fortunately, we were the featured segment on 2020. So I've always been an innovator in everything that I've done on the area of aesthetics and rejuvenation as well. I realized many years ago that it took more than just a scalpel to make somebody look younger and feel younger. And I incorporated into my practice bioidentical hormone replacement, optimal nutrition, other things. I mean, what's the use in looking younger if you don't feel good?
Yes, yes.
So a lot of what I do and integrate in my practice is not just designed to help you look younger, help you look more fresh, for women as well as men, but also to make you feel younger and ultimately even function younger, as we'll get into a little bit more with our segment.
With regard to men and erectile dysfunction, this has become very pervasive. And to my surprise, I'm hearing men in their 30s are having issues right now. Is that right?
Yes, it's true. And in my practice, I've had a 50-something-year-old father that brought his 26-year-old son in because he had different issues.
Wow.
With the issue of erectile dysfunction, and I would like to rephrase that and let's rename it as erectile functioning, the circulation gets poorer as we get older, everywhere in our body. You know, our circulation gets bad in our legs, circulation gets bad in our heart, and eventually you die of a heart attack.
Right.
Well, the same thing happens with erectile function in men. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not a psychological issue. It's an issue that simply has to do with the fact the circulation there is not as good as it was when you were 25 years old.
Yes, yes.
But now we have technology to reverse some of those changes, some of that deterioration of circulation to help restore more normal blood flow and circulation to the area, even though it's 25 years down the road from when you used to be 25. The procedures that I'm talking about is a procedure that actually helps stimulate the formation of new blood vessels in the area, so it restores a more normal blood flow, more normal circulation, a more normal, healthier, younger function.
You have a procedure that you've revolutionized, and now in the industry there is an option. Tell us about what that process is and how it works.
That's called the Rod Rock procedure. Rod for Rodriguez and Rock, ROC, for restoration of circulation.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay.
Restoration of circulation.
Restoration
the
of
Rod
circulation.
Rock treatment.
The Rod Rock treatment. Now, essentially what I've done is combine different modalities that have been around for a long time, but combine them to get synergy in stimulating new blood flow, new blood vessel formation in the penis.
Yes.
And particularly in the part of the male organ that dilates with blood, called the corpora cavernosa. And that particular treatment involves using some instrumentation with machines to deliver energy to the area, but also I combine that with stem cells. There's a lot of stuff in the news about stem cells and the capacity of stem cells to rejuvenate tissues, to heal things. And I take those different modalities and combine them in a 2-week protocol to actually get significant improvement in over 95% of the people that have the treatment.
Wow, wow. And you're saying it's a process that's only about 2 weeks in length?
It's about 2 weeks. Right.
Wow.
It's 2 weeks. You come into the office, 3 times a week. It's 2 to 3 weeks. I can adjust it to the patient's schedule. 2 to 3 times a week for 2 consecutive weeks. Okay. And then after that, you may not have to have another session until a year, maybe 2 years down the road.
So, Dr. Rodriguez, we are just about out of time. Can you tell folks how they can connect to you?
RodriguezRejuvenation.com. RodriguezRejuvenation.com. And there on the website, you'll find lots of useful information. And then, of course, come in for a consultation as soon as you can, because everybody is different. There's no cookie cutter approach, and we customize a treatment protocol and treatment plans for what your particular problems are, your personality to some extent, your budget. So everything is customized.
Outstanding, outstanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Dr. Raul Rodriguez of Rodriguez Rejuvenation. I want to introduce to you a gentleman that I've come to know and really appreciate, Dr. Raul Rodriguez from Rodriguez Rejuvenation. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Well, I started my career as in cosmetic surgery and aesthetic medicine over 20 years ago, and I've always been an innovator in everything that I've done. And I was fortunate enough to be featured on ABC News 2020. Back in 2003, with Barbara Walters doing the introduction. Could this be the answer to your
Barbara
dreams?
Walters and Hugh Downs, right?
yeah, absolutely. Back then, he wanted to end up on the "Give Me a Break" segment with
Yes.
John Salza, but fortunately, we were the featured segment on 2020. So I've always been an innovator in everything that I've done on the area of aesthetics and rejuvenation as well. I realized many years ago that it took more than just a scalpel to make somebody look younger and feel younger. And I incorporated into my practice bioidentical hormone replacement, optimal nutrition.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to
looking younger,
The Cutting Edge right here on Edge Radio,
So,
1540
a
on
lot
your
of what I
AM,
do and
and that's
integrate in my
101.7 on your FM dial. Please feel free to give us a call at 281-587-1540. That's 281-587-1540. Again, I got my lovely guest, my woman crushing Wednesdays, and she's been crushing every day of the week, as a matter of fact, Miss Kyra Hartwick. Thank you so much for being here again. And, before we went into the break, we started to talk about a little bit about, get into the sports world a little bit, and just how I wanted to get your view or take on how these organizations, these sports leagues, should, or, how they are going to respond to the situation, because now it's like, really it makes, although we've all known,
Right.
like Colin was right all along, right?
Right.
Like the message was substantial. It was a real one, and they didn't really kind of give. To me, they kind of brushed over it. I felt like the NFL, they met with a couple guys and they committed to throwing a little money at it and stuff like that. But I really don't think that they did as much as they could have for this issue, especially considering that fact that over 70% of the NFL is black, those players that are on that field, right? So what do you think, the response should be, and how do you think, based on, what you've seen, heard, maybe it's not a lot, how the response has been?
I think no matter what league, right? I think the response has to be a humanistic approach. I don't care what you do to manage the money that's being funneled in your conversation, because the message is guided by money. Like, can I just go there? The message is guided by where the money is coming from or who's influencing the funding. And so when we know that, I don't care what league. So we understand Colin's approach, right? And a lot of social media memes, I love that you didn't want to take the silent approach. Now we talking loud and you want us to be quiet. So I think it's about them understanding that we're smart enough to know that that's the method that we're moving in, or that they're moving in. And so their message is guided by the funding. I think if they're strong enough as league owners, as league representatives, as player representatives, to step forward and be in their full humanity and know that we're people, we're talking about human beings' lives, livelihood, then I think their future employees, right? We're talking about their future buyers, their future seat holders, season ticket holders. Let's go from that approach. I think that's the thing. So I don't know that there's been the right response yet. I think the right response is a human response, not a crafted corporate message. And we need to get out of that, because that's what's got us here, right? So Colin did what he did, and he wasn't supported until he was. And so he was on his own. You left him completely bare behind. There was no backing. Once the backing started, then it was okay. So once the first hit, was taken, then somebody, I don't know who was the first, whether it was the players union or whatever, whoever got behind him first to say, hey, what he's doing is good and we're in solidarity with him. But he was on his own until he wasn't.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. We got to know for ourselves. I know what I believe. You know what you believe. And I think that's where we have to start. And as long as we run I run a corporation. I run two, but I'm still a human and I still understand where I stand. And that doesn't change how I approach my business, other than the fact that I run it from a humanistic approach. I'm talking to people. I'm working with people. And so I think that's the thing. So I don't know that has been the right response. And I don't even know if we even know what the expectation is of a right response, because from a corporate perspective, it's all driven by dollars.
Right.
Period.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a money game. And if you want to play the money game, then you've almost got to say it just right to get the right funding to still keep coming in, because we want to still sell tickets and we don't want to piss everybody off, right?
Right.
We want to still have strong ownership. We don't want to turn the players against their owners or their coaches or certain levels within the organization. We don't, and as a spectator, I don't even know all the levels in the organization, but I know it's complex, and I know there are thin layers that have lines of bureaucracy within them that tell somebody else exactly how this is going to go. This is what your movement's going to be. Here is the united front of our organization. I think you should come out that way. I think that's smart, but I think you need to make sure that you've considered all of your shareholders and your stakeholders.
Right.
Right.
Do you think, and this was going to be funny, but do you think that, let's just talk about the NFL as it relates to Colin, because Colin was really the the vocal champion for this whole thing, right? Do you think that he'd somehow get a job now?
Okay, so my thought on that. Ooh, you got me like in a sticky spot. It's really controversial, so now I'm being very managed in how I respond, okay? So I feel like this. I feel like Colin can get whatever he wants. I also feel like Colin can create whatever lane he wants. I feel like he can create his role. I feel like he's done that, and I feel like we'll support him however it goes. So whether or not he gets back on a team, whether he feels like he wants to be on a team, I think he can have whatever he wants, because he is, no matter how we look at it, he is now, he's an authority. He's a thought leader. You'd be crazy not to have a thought leader on your team.
but he's always been a thought leader.
But now he's a controversial thought leader.
Right. They never saw it that way.
Until now, but now he's back though.
Right.
He's
so now you feel like
by others.
So now you feel like, but him being a thought leader is shifted.
I feel like it's a seller's market. I feel like Colin can have whatever he wants.
Well, he can, but I wonder if, the owners in the league, if their perception of him has shifted now.
Yes.
So that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Absolutely, their perspective has shifted, and their perspective has shifted not only on Colin, but the other players that we didn't hear about. Right. And so they've had to make money decisions about all of that. So it's about who wants to be the one to take the risk of saying, I'll take Colin. Now, stand up and show us where you stand. That's the real thing. It's about who's going to take that risk. Now, I've heard there are rumors out there, right, about some movement. I don't know what it is, but
I haven't. A lot of it is fake news.
Okay.
And, I haven't heard anything to date. I mean, I could be wrong.
It's been a minute.
I haven't
pre-COVID
heard
for sure. I felt like I heard some shifting around him, but
oh yeah. I saw some things too, but I don't think any of it was real.
Okay.
Like he did his own little personal workout and stuff like that. I think it was latter part of last year.
Okay.
But I haven't heard anything because of how that whole thing spiraled out of control, and I understand his position of not wanting to be used by the league for their own,
exactly.
And so I get that, but so I wonder if anything will ever come out of it where he will, and it will work out for on both sides for him to be on a team.
I think it's this, and this is what just popped in my head. I think it has to be the perfect love affair for him, because he's a lover of the sport. He's a master at his craft, right? And I think then it has to be that he knows he's in a safe place, right? It's literally a love affair. So it has to be that he marries the right organization that he can trust and feel safe in to bring his skill and his talent, right? It's going to create ruckus. I don't care what you do. But I think that is it. He is a pillar for us now. Generationally, he has been established as he's a frontier for us.
Absolutely.
So I think yes, but I think they're gonna have to be madly in love, and it's gonna have to be that deep.
Do you think that there needs to be? So we got the protests going on, and they have all these things that are happening right now. Do you think there needs to be another level of protest to bring more attention to this? Do you think there needs? Because I have an idea of what I think there should be, but do you think that there will need to be, or should we wait and see kind of what actions or what solutions take place from this point on? What do you think?
So you just asked me if I thought we should wait and see. So Al, you know my personality. Not waiting to see nothing. I think it's our job, our duty right now to establish, build, and develop. I think that's our job. So like I spoke earlier about running our lanes, is there another level of protest? Yes. And it's an intellectual game that we're going to play here. And I think there is the physical, the visible, and I think there is one that is invisible that will show up as necessary. I think that is something that we, as the brillianteers of our generation, and I stole that from Simon Bailey, the brillianteers, we are those catalysts for change. And I think we get to create that. And I think we've been doing that in our ways and in our lanes, whether we're, which I love what people are doing when it comes to economic development, revitalizing communities using our dollars, right? Turning our dollars back into our community and recycling them over and over and over again. Maintaining the viability and strength of Black businesses that strengthen communities, that strengthen homes, that strengthen our children, that strengthen our school systems, that call for legislation that favors us or that favors humanity. And I think that's where the game really has to be played. And I think that's what we've been taught. That's what our legacy has been establishing for us. But now those of us that have the ability, the influence, the voice, the microphone, so to speak, it's our responsibility. It's like looking around and realizing that all your friends are running for political office. And you're like, oh, shoot, it's us. We're up next. Oh, dang it. It's us, right? I was like one of those moments like where you're like, oh, I'm her. Uh-huh. And so it's us. We're up. And it's our job to not only do that and then be so acutely aware of our history because it's only repeating itself. Absolutely. It's just a different level and it's done differently. It is televised now. Absolutely. And it is our job to be as vigilant as our forefathers were, right? To do what we need to do. I remember sitting and talking to my grandmother about legacy. Grandmother, tell me about your legacy. Where did you come from? How did you move around in those days where women in your space were keeping other women's homes? Mm-hmm. She said, oh, honey, I didn't keep anybody's home. My husband provided for me and I got to keep my own. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, that's where I get it from, huh? Oh. Right? I stood all the way up in that thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because it showed me legacy. So now you can't take that from me to know that I'm entitled and I have the authority and ability to create for my family and to take care of my family. So whatever that looks like is what it's going to be. And I think we all have to take ownership of that based on our perspective. And we all have so many different perspectives, right? Urban decay is real. How we approach this issue is real. Everyone approaches it differently, right? If you're a survivor, you're going to approach it like a survivalist, mm-hmm. right? If you have plenty of resources, you're going to approach it with plenty of resources. Mm-hmm. It's the difference of mindset. It's the difference of position. But everyone's going to run it from their lane. And so what you're seeing in some instances are people that only know, if I know death, if I live in a community that knows death is common to me. I'm not afraid of death. It's just that you just died a different way. Mm-hmm. So my issue is not that I'm mad about the death or discouraged or frightened by it. I now know that I'm empowered though, because my people are, to say something different about it. And I'm mad about the fact that now you've cut off my air concerning it, right? So if death is common, if I'm living in a community where I'm hearing the sirens all the time, I'm not surprised by this. Mm-hmm. But what I am now is activated around my survival, because you're not gonna come get my life.
Right.
It's a different approach. And I think we all have to respect where we all come from and how we view it. Okay. So
so I think that was a great segue into wanting to dive into more of the business side of this.
Sure.
So what are the conversations for you and your clients, given this new temperature that we have, both in dealing with, the COVID-19 as well as now, in this last week or so. I don't know how many clients you met with in this time frame, but what are conversations are they trying to have conversations around this subject right now?
I'm going to say this, Al. We've been so intentional since we've started. I've come out of corporate, right? I'm a corporate head. So my intention has always been to build a culture that had a human factor. So it's our regular conversation to do a life, health, wellness check when we jump on the call or when I'm meeting with you. How are you? How's your family? How's everyone doing? That's a part of our culture, right? We call it TKC care. So for me, I'm not even having new conversations. It's a continuation. And so we're having those conversations. But what we are also doing is talking about the solutions that are based or we can subject to this situation. What solutions can we interject? And how can my clients think differently even about their team members or how they're maintaining retention, engaging their employees? We're having smart conversations about that, not excluding them from the being a human leader, right? You're trying to manage your money, your P&L, your processes, service delivery, your funds have been cut, you're trying to find other funding. All that's real. So it's all on the table. But the one thing that we've been blessed with as a company, our culture, the structure, the archetype of who we are, it's all encompassing of the whole person. And so we're always having that conversation. So it's not new, but our clients are feeling it from every angle. And I know going into COVID, I had a client, and it kept me up at night, that has been in business for years, a newer client for me though. And she as the leader of this organization, she panicked. She panicked in such a way that I knew she was going to cause harm to her organization. And I was just up at night, like thinking, how can I help her see herself? Right? Before the layoffs, before the major shifts that don't have a lot of structure behind them. How can I help her see her? She's panicking. And a panic inside of a crisis is one of the most critical and most detrimental things you can do. And so for me, that's been my thing. How do I make sure that I keep my executives and their thoughts out of a space of panic and as in a space of resolution, consideration, opportunity, etc. I'm trying to keep them focused there.
I gotcha. So you like the Olivia Pope of the business world.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. You like the Olivia Pope, you know what I mean? You the whole scandal joint, you know what I mean?
I've heard that before.
Absolutely. I mean,
it.
because they come to you and you give them that direction in the midst of, something serious going on, how to handle that, how to manage that. And it's powerful because not everybody can handle that, as you just stated, like, having a client who might be detrimental to themselves and not even be aware that that's a thing, right? That's not even be aware that they can cause harm to their company in such a way, which is not what they want to do, but because they're reacting in their own way based on their own understanding, that's the way they're going about it. So I think that's so, that's so unique, right? And how are, what kind of, are you having a lot of conversations with the African-American women right now?
Yeah.
Because this is what the day is about. Today is about, women crushing Wednesdays, right? So what is, I don't know why we needed a pause for that.
Look, let me, hold on. My curls all right, you guys?
So,
okay.
So what kind of conversations are the women folk having, regarding some of this stuff? I mean, because I will say this. Now, I'm gonna give it up to women because you guys always do so well at supporting one another, applauding one another, just being there, being that strength when someone needs it. I think as men, a lot of time we don't feel it because you got to be macho and all that, whatever. But I applaud you guys. So I would imagine, like during times like these, are you guys continuing to have those conversations, those moments, whether it's personal or for business?
Yes, like our group chats are off the chain. Like we're talking about everything, and I think for us, I have several different kind of sectors of people that I work with. So I have my homegirls, my girlfriends, right, my secret keepers, and our conversation looks like, how are you every day? It's, are you good? Do you need anything? How are the kids? That kind of thing. I miss our martinis. I miss our moments where we can just kind of step out for on Friday night. We should be having dinner right now, but we're stuck in the house. So we've been finding ways to do things virtually, have little paint parties and do stuff together so we can maintain the connection of our relationship. That's one. Then you have your business colleagues, and we've found so much strength in being able to work together and become producers collectively. So the conversion, the fundamental growth of your business right now is all inside collaboration. Right. Where the collaboration is, there goes the cash. So I need you to understand that we found ways to collaborate in such an incredible opportunities, and we are working together to keep each other built strong. I don't know that I could have successfully gotten through the first 45, 50 days, 60 days, whatever we've been in of COVID, right, of the pandemic, without my colleagues that we can work with. So having a network is so important. And these are not people that you're going to see me all over social media with. Like, these are my sleepers. We don't talk on the surface. We keep this thing low because that's my support. I'm their support. We're all supporting one another, and we're keeping each other strong. We're able to have those breakdown moments. I'm afraid, I don't know. Oh my goodness, cash flow is low this month. We got to get some clients. We got to get some conversions. We're all talking about it. And so we all get to help each other. So that's how we're doing it. And then, of course, we're talking about all the girly stuff. We're talking about
oh my goodness,
coming out of quarantine booze, all that. It's like, survival of the fittest coming out of quarantine. It's tough,
really?
Man.
That's a thing.
You better believe it.
First time I've ever heard that.
Is it?
Yes.
So let me tell you what's super funny. I met this young lady. We got connected, and literally on that Friday of quarantine, we went into quarantine the 13th of March. She and I went to lunch, and I was like, girl, we're going to have lunch, but we're going to be real careful. We went to lunch, and maybe within 24 hours, she's calling me. She was like, now, we have incredible, this is so funny. She was like, we have incredible chemistry. We have a lot in common. What are we about to do? Mm-hmm. And I was like, girlfriend, what you want to do? And so we literally started building a business infrastructure and created this platform called The Collision.
Wow.
And so it was so funny because this is how the Quarantine Boo joke came up, because we're on the phone. We just met. We were connected by another female colleague. And the young lady and I are on the phone at like 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, girl, you are my quarantine boo. I said, why am I on the phone with you at 3 in the morning? This is crazy. But we were building. We found so much synergy in our ability to create. Mm-hmm. And so when I say that, it's like, this is the person that you can create something amazing with. And since then we've been just continuing to do it. And so that's one version of that, right? And then the other is for our, there's so many people in quarantine by themselves. Mm-hmm. Like, that's scary for a lot of people. And so, yeah, we're having the quarantine boo conversation, the real quarantine boo conversation.
That's good, though. I mean, this time, you got the time.
It's real life.
You got the time right now. So
figure it out.
which has been excellent. So Kyle, before you leave, I mean, we're about to wrap up here soon, but tell us more about some of the things you're working on, where, some of the things that you do, so people can have a great understanding of, the work that you do, and where we can find you.
Absolutely. So first of all, you can find me on any social media under Kyra Hardwick or Kyra Renell, Renel. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Definitely connect with me on all those platforms. And the Kyra Company, our business pages are active. But I also encourage you, if you are looking for that support that we just kind of talked about and really looking to get into a community that will serve you as a business owner with information, insight, access to your customer channel, come into the Smart CEO community. And we have a private Facebook group that we encourage you to just, request access to. And we administer and we'll manage to get you in. But every Thursday we have a conversation with smart CEOs, and it's where we're dropping content. So we're building right now a lot of digital content, something we have not had time to do. Mm-hmm. And so that more of that will be coming. Our Collision platform, which is our Collision courses, will be coming, and that is a focus on sales and operations, something that I've been building with my quarantine boo, Shanice Ruffin. So if you've seen our articles, we've been writing a lot of articles talking about the perspective of operations and sales, so people can understand how that works together and how that's really where the epicenter of the cash flow is for businesses. And we're industry agnostic, so we're talking to any industry concerning those two components. Goodness, there's so much more coming. It's hard to really release it all right now, but I just want you all to know that when you have moments like this, gifts of time to create, take advantage of it. And that doesn't mean you have to go create something new. It means you can dig deeper in the lane that you're in, and that's where you're going to find your most rich soil, and you're going to be able to see those flowers bloom and harvest most significantly. So that's what we're doing. So
that's awesome. That's all amazing and everything. But I mean, the biggest thing that you're doing, you failed to mention.
What?
You're going to be a contributor on your show every Thursday.
Breaking news, you guys.
Come on. What? With the Smart CEO. So we're looking forward to that.
Yes.
I'm excited to get your contribution to the program. It's always amazing hanging out with you.
Thursdays just got a little smarter.
Really?
We should use that. That's the tag.
That's the tag.
Thursdays just got a little smarter.
You know what? And this is what always happens when I'm in a room with you.
Amazing. Amazing happens when amazing's present.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kyra, for coming on. We're glad to have you. Thank you for all our listeners coming on today. And again, you can find Kyra Hardwick on all the social media platforms. And tune in tomorrow to The Cutting Edge. She's going to be starting next week with us. Every Thursday, you're going to find her here, right here on The Cutting Edge. You're listening to 1540 AM 101.7. Listen to the Edge Radio Network. Thank you. Good seeing you guys next week.